You are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
And my name is Jeremy Yang.
and we're going to get right into it. Jeremy, let's hear it. What is your hot take?
My hot take is that too many small businesses are talking about AI automation, which is very much your specialty, but I think they're really just talking about automation. And I don't think they have the resources to do AI at the rate that AI requires into the data input and the granular of it. And I think they just want to be on the bandwagon and not miss. I think that's what they're really talking about and not real AI.
I think that this is a very important conversation because nobody wants to feel like you're behind the times, right? And
Yeah.
I think about those people who maybe back in the day, like they got a website because they felt like they had to. And there was no real thought process around like what their website would do. And that, even though websites have been around forever, I'm still having this conversation with people who are like, I have to have a website. I'm like, cool, what is your website going to do? Is it meant to generate leads? Is it more informational? Are you doing networking sales where they're coming
Mhm.
to check out you and just to make sure that you're legit? Tell me what your website is for. I'm like, it's to have a website because I have to. And I think you're 100% right that we're seeing a lot of businesses of all sizes, whether you are a solopreneur or the largest enterprise in the world, feeling this pressure to implement AI and AI automation without a real plan or understanding of what it will or will not do for them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the biggest part, and I heard one of your other episodes when you're talking about not all data is good data, it's not possible. And I think it's even more a challenge for smaller businesses because even if they knew, just say like a small law office, they go, oh, we need AI to do our thing. Dude, like you don't have anyone around to enter the proper case study numbers, the results. And I was thinking about this because I work with a lot of tradies, like Aussie term for people on the ground driving around in a van or 2 or 3 vans. They say, I want to book something in my diary. To me, that's just automation, right? Something prompted you to go to this job site. But it's not like AI is sitting around ordering stock for you, right? Or tell you how many things are missing or what you're likely going to use for the next few months based on the stats that was the last few months. So to me, that's just they wanting to do more automation, and there's such a big gap, and I don't know how they are going to fill that gap, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they run the risk too of being very disappointed in their
Yes.
experience with AI because I'm an AI OG, right? I was on ChatGPT before it was cool. I'm interested. I love this kind of stuff. I love learning about it.
Yeah.
And what I have found as someone who uses it multiple times a day, every single day, is that it's only as good as the foundation you build for it, right?
Mhm.
So it's only as good as the data you have to feed into the system. And it's only as good as your use case and your understanding of what you're trying to do. And it's only as good as your fundamental knowledge of how it works and what its limitations are. And I worry that people are going to get into AI, they're going to roll it out,
Yeah.
and they're going to blame the tool for it
Yes.
not delivering the results when in reality it's they didn't have the right foundation, they didn't have the right skills in place, they didn't have the right use case or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're going to write it off when I truly believe that AI is a great equalizer for some of our businesses when you can't afford to have
Yeah.
someone who
Yeah.
does all your data entry or books all of your appointments. Like we were
Yeah.
talking before the show aired, I use a calendar booking link that will
Yes.
mark
Yes.
a
Yeah.
preferred time for me. And
Yeah.
it's smart enough to know how to do that. I can't afford an EA who would know how to do all those things for me.
Yeah.
So I do the
Yeah.
next best thing, which is AI. And as small businesses,
Yeah.
this is our great equalizer, I believe.
When you say it's a great rule, I see that's the part that I have conflicting thoughts around. So for me, I call it the Elysium Effect, that Matt Damon movie,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
like the richer and the people who can get more resources and at a thing, and then everyone else working. So to me, what if the franchises, the roll up shops and everything, they figure it out and they use this effectively, and whereas everyone else is they miss out because they haven't got the system, they can't afford the right resources, and they kind of be on this lower tier, right? After disappointment of the tools, of all the blaming, and then someone's going to get this right. And it's probably the people with more resources and more capacity to enter the data and analyze the data in my eyes. What do you think about that? Like, how is it equalizing for the smaller businesses?
I haven't really thought about it that way, to be honest with you. That's a new perspective because I think on one hand, I think you're right. There's going to be winners and losers in this race to AI. And it's the same kind of like if you would have bought Bitcoin how many years ago,
Yeah.
you'd be a
Yeah.
big winner versus the person who's trying to get into it now.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how I would call the listeners to say,
Yeah.
hey, wouldn't you rather have bought Google stock
Yeah.
25 years ago? I
Yeah.
actually know someone, by the way, who had an opportunity to buy Google stock at $1 a share, and she said no
Yeah.
because she felt like this was like a weird thing. She didn't really need to be buying. And then, of course,
Yeah.
now she's like kicking herself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe this is my hot take that this is our Bitcoin moment where this is
Yeah.
going to be something that we all need to understand. It is going to be something that we are
Yeah.
going to see as a pervasive thing.
Uh-huh.
And you can either buy Bitcoin when it's cheap and you're early in on it, or you can wish you did several years ago. And I really feel like that's what we have to do here. And
Yeah.
yes, you as a small business don't have the resources, but
Yeah.
there's so much free education out there to learn how to do it and how to optimize it. And you don't
Uh-huh.
have to eat the whole apple, boil the whole ocean, whatever you want to say
Yeah.
there. You can say, what is one thing I could take off my plate? And for me,
Yeah.
like that was scheduling bookings for podcasts. That's
Yeah.
one thing that goes off my plate and then another. So I see your point though, is that
Yeah.
there could be a real winners and losers, and we run the risk of the big dogs being the only winners.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the very first point that you were saying how people wanted a website. I think even if if that's the only reason, maybe they didn't articulate it correctly, maybe they would just wanted to put their flag on the ground. They said, well, I'm going to need a website. And it was the right thing to do, I think, because SEO would have kicked in certain things. Yeah, starting earlier is better than not starting at all. Now, I'm still struggling to try to, because I'm an agency, I run ads for people. That's my whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out, like, who really wins out of that, because it's not the agency game. Because now, in my eyes, and I know a topic that you're doing your podcast is a client retention, which is close to my heart. Our retention is very good, but I feel like AI has now stacked more work because now more is expected, right? They're like, whatever you were doing before, you should be able to do more with AI. And
Yeah.
everybody's on the same boat. The end user in that respect gets the advantage because it's commoditized, the thing. The game's been even more commoditized than it has been.
And I do agree with some of that too. But I think part of it as an agency,
Yes.
one of the things that you can stand on is that you've done like how many hundreds of thousands of ads, right?
Yeah.
You understand what works in the human psychology. LLMs are not human. AIs are not human. They are imitations of a generic person because they bring in all of this
Yes.
information. And there's something in stats called regressing to the mean. And
Yeah.
so if you have a bunch of people, you have a lineage of people, and you would expect tall parents will produce tall children, right?
Yeah.
But they found in statistics that the taller you are, the more likely you are to have an average sized child because it starts to regress to the mean.
Oh,
And it
okay.
doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're a tall person, you produce tall children.
Mm.
Eventually, we all regress to the mean. It's called the middle for a reason, right? And we're going to see the same thing with AI. If you are using AI exclusively to create your ads and to generate your ads
Yeah.
and to drive that forward,
Yeah.
it's all going to regress to the mean. It's all going to feel like the same and like average and like middle. And so agencies have a real opportunity to
Stand out.
be truly differentiators for their clients.
Okay.
Use AI where it makes sense, but be special. And I think that's what people are going to find if they start to implement AI.
Yeah, for sure. So, point taken. And I think what you're also talking about is 2 points. The discernment is really important. Being able to use the past experience to discern. I was more referring to the peripheral activities. Like we do a lot more competitor research now, a lot deeper competitor research. We use a lot of AI tools to help analyze websites, client websites, conversion rate, so CRO, landing page game, competitor landing page game. I think we wire a few tools together to grab competitor ads, analyze angles, graphics, that kind of thing. Script writing based on not just give you a template for $900. That's not the game. No, those I don't have force for that stuff. Anyway, like proper script writing based on all the copywriting models, etc. And I think I find it very effective when you string like 2 to 3 tools together, which is like your go-to, right? Because if you have one tool, then anyone can use it. But if you have your knowledge in three tools, and I guess my point is that I find that, what's the word? Scope creeping myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing
Okay.
more because you finish other stuff a lot quicker, and you used to have 10 hours per client, etc. And now you finish it quicker. Your competitors can do as well. So you've got to do more to stand out. I don't know.
I haven't really thought about it that way, I guess, that
Yeah.
we're going to scope creep ourselves, because I'm sitting here thinking, you got 10 hours back, right? Like, it was supposed to take you 20,
Yeah.
it only took you 10. Now there's
Yeah.
10 profitable hours, but you're right,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a race to the bottom if we're not
Yes.
careful with how we position it. And I like that you said you're using AI for periphery tasks, right?
Yes.
Because there is a perception in business owners, and I'm sure you're seeing this too, that this is this magic box that I can just press a button and a unicorn will pop out and everything will be great for my business. And that, we both know that's not the way that it works. But so if we can position it for our clients as, this allows me to really make sure that all of my time is spent on deeply thinking about your differentiation and what's going to make you stand out, and the discernment, use that word. I think that is the right word. That is, I think, where we land. And I would caution agency owners, don't just do more simply because you feel like you have to fill the time. If you are bringing true value, you get to charge for that. And it's hard though, because I do it all the time too, where I'm like, I got an extra hour, so I guess I can scope creep the heck out of myself.
Yeah.
But your services are valuable. And just because you can do it in 10 when you quoted them 20, like, you spent years building up that expertise to earn that 10 back.
Yeah. So that's, I think that's a space. I think small businesses are starting to understand that it's not a magic box. You do need to, but because I know big businesses are also made of humans, just like me and you. So what's your experience? I know that you spoke about the 8% of the people that they're testing the experiment of AI experiment. So we don't test on the whole thing. We test about 8% of database. But then you brought a very good point. You said we still needed a human to decide who's the 8%. Was it the least risky? Was it people about to leave anyway? Do you know what I mean? So what's your experience with bigger businesses in this field?
I would say they have all the resources in the world. And sometimes that is worse than being scrappy and bootstrapping, because they have all the resources in the world. They have all of these things they could possibly do. And they become stuck in this paralysis of possibility, I guess is what I will call it. And they have so many people in the room. They have so many use cases. And a lot of times they have become separated from their customer. So all of my businesses, for the most part, I was the founder, I was the salesperson, I was the marketing person, and I did the delivery as well. And so you don't get much closer to your customer than that. And lot of these people who work in big businesses, when their only job is lead generation, and that's the only thing they think about all day, they become blinded to the reality of sales, and they become blinded to the reality of delivery. And then we end up with singular perspectives, when AI, I think you said it perfectly, 2 to 3 tools strung together is so much better than one tool. Same thing with a big business, but they don't always do very well at stringing together things because they're very laser focused on their small piece.
And you talk about siloing a lot and spending your whole career making sure the silos don't happen, right? You know how, I think you also speak about, we finally have a centralized place where all the people are like, can draw from the same well kind of thing. So is that becoming a reality now? Because just from my experience, I've worked for a lot of bigger businesses in terms of ad stuff. They go back to just going there. I'm so disappointed. It's like it's Google Sheets and Excels and not even macro formulas behind there. What do you see behind the scenes?
I think that my dream of a centralized, unified experience is a dream right now. And that is, I think it's coming, but I'm seeing the same thing. And I'm seeing they're not even using Google Sheets. They're using actual Excel, in which someone has to be emailed a file because it's not the live file, and it has to be merged together. It's just not the way it should be. And I think we leaders from the top down need to figure out, how do we create infrastructure and systems and incentives and rewards that drive people to this centralized behavior, because it will benefit our customer, which will ultimately benefit us.
Yeah, it's just too difficult in terms of, because every move, it's like you're scrapping whatever you guys have done, right, in the past. And that's like costly. And then if they get it wrong, too many people go, oh, here we go. we're changing the system again, are we? And that's the resistance, right? And they have to go. And the thing with Sheets and Excel is that there's no learning curve in my
Right.
eyes. So people jump in, they go, where do I get this file? They know how to press Control F. Whereas if they have to go through a learning curve just to understand what the database is, I think there's such a resistance. And I'll be thinking about this problem for a long time. I don't know. There'll come a day when it'll become a standard where they say, this is how you get it. You should have learned that in your last job. That's what we're using here. And
And
right now, we're just not there.
I think it's going to come though, because you mentioned, oh, there's no learning curve on
Yeah.
Excel
Yeah.
and spreadsheets. I have a 10-year-old and he goes to school and they have Chromebooks as part of their
Yes.
tools they use in the classroom. But like when I was his age, we had computer class where we would go and learn to type. And that is so second nature for him. There's no learning curve. And I think we're going to get to the same place with AI because I know how to use Excel because it's ubiquitous now.
Yes.
But there used to be people, and honestly, people who still do, put proficient in Excel on their resume. And I'm like, that's a table stakes bare minimum now, my friend. You don't go to take an Excel class. Or I talked to someone who literally went to typing school when she was trying to be a secretary. So like these things are ubiquitous. I'm hoping we get to that point with AI where it's just part of, we understand the fabric of how it works. Like my 10-year-old, he likes to stream on YouTube, his like video games and stuff. So he'll be streaming on YouTube. And I taught him how to use ChatGPT to write his descriptions for his videos and write titles and stuff because I wanted him to learn how to use AI in that workflow. Otherwise, the title of his video would be like Fortnite solo.
Right.
And I'm like, you got to give it more than that, my guy.
That's a great start already. I have a 5-year-old. I'm already thinking he can't type yet. I'm already thinking we should get him to voice activation. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking to my wife. We should get him to start using that to get the right answers and start adopting it because he has a lot of questions. 5-year-olds. I think that one of the use cases that you came up with, and I go, okay, that's a first real kind of thing is when you said, what if the salesperson was talking, right? And then on the side of the screen, and it comes up with all the stuff that it has worked in the past and what other people in a similar field have solved this problem. I go, that's good. That's the first person I've heard said something proper and useful. Like it's actually practical right now. Do you know what I mean? For a business to be unsoloing and doing that. Yeah.
And we have a real opportunity too as business leaders to almost be superhuman, right? Have that Jarvis from Iron Man on the corner, making sure that we know what we need to know in the moment that we need to know it. And I think that's hopefully the future of work that we're all careening towards.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the thought. Yeah. Cool.
Considering all the people that you know or aspire to know, who else is out there? Who else should we be paying attention to?
I listen to a few podcasts. I like the podcasts where people are a bit more humble and exploring instead of coming as I'm the authority already. I think one of the interviews I watched recently was Cody Sanchez and Gary Vee. I think she comes from a place where she's out there buying small businesses, and the level of ambition on her lady is really something to aspire to. And I think she touches on a lot of hot topics. She's pretty vulnerable. So yeah, I'm going to continue listening to her. Yeah, for sure.
And if someone is really connecting with you, they want to learn more, they want to continue this conversation, where can they find you online?
LinkedIn's probably easiest, LinkedIn. So just look for Jeremy Yang, Digital Goliath, those kind of names on LinkedIn. This year, my goal is to be more out there on podcasts and just having more conversations. I think it's really helpful in the world of AI, I guess, to be having a human face and people get to learn more about you. So that's my goal this year, man. Yeah, but really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Just search Alyssa Nolte. If you find the Notorious Plant Killer, you know you'll find the right one. I'm also on Substack.